On June 6th of 2026, Tinashe released Too Easy, a track that for a lot of people was interpreted as taking a dig at the K-pop industry. The track, not even making it to 2 minutes, has been interpreted as Tinashe claiming this game is simply too easy for her. That it is her saying that she too can do short songs and simple and generic lyrics and deliver it with quality. In the song, Tinashe uses a bit of a flat tone, almost sounding bored, to sing the repetitive verse, and then changes to the tone that she has been known for during the pre-chorus. She is letting the audience know that it is indeed too easy for her. The song started a conversation on the internet surrounding Tinashe's impact on the K-pop industry, and for the first time, maybe ever, K-pop stans addressed her influence in the industry. It became very clear that Too Easy was just the beginning of the yearly discourse that happens when Tinashe releases music. Every time she surprises her fans with a new release, this conversation comes back like clockwork. However, I felt the need to make this video only because I know her impact goes beyond K-pop. She has influenced the way K-pop performances work, but also how the Western pop star handles herself on stage. For years, Tinashe's impact on pop music has been ignored by the industry and audiences alike. I will get more into it later in the video, but Tinashe has been a presence in music that has been impossible to ignore. Ever since her early days, her music and performance have redefined the way we see the modern pop star. Tinashe started her career as a child actress in the early 2000s. Later, she would turn to music and become part of the girl group The Stunners, which debuted in 2007 but disbanded officially in 2011. Starting her solo career completely on her own meant learning how to produce, master, and compose, and she learned to do it all. Tinashe had a very clear idea of the type of artist she wanted to be, and she did everything she could do to achieve that, despite her own record label hindering her efforts and ignoring the creative vision she had for herself. After releasing a set of self-produced mixtapes and signing with a major record label, Tinashe went into the studio to create history with Too On and her first album, Aquarius. Although it did not give her immediate success, it did position her as a staple in a very small niche, K-pop. I can say that probably I started listening to Tinashe at the same time that a lot of these idols, kinda back in the mid-2010s, when she was collaborating with everyone and was everywhere, and she was as impressive to me as she probably was for a lot of these male and female idols. I don't know about them, but to me what stood out about Tinashe was that, at that time, very few female pop singers were as commanding and fun on stage as her. Considering the nature and origins of K-pop, relying on dance, performance, hip-hop, and R&B, it makes sense that Tinashe became a paramount figure in the industry. A couple weeks ago, in an interview with K-pop singer and Pentagon member Kino, Tinashe was brought up into the conversation. The interviewer said that every K-pop group looks at Tinashe for influence, and Kino agreed. He said that during the time the third and fourth generations of K-pop were rookies or trainees, Tinashe was picking up traction in the music industry. Denying Tinashe's impact in K-pop would be like lying to ourselves, because even the idols themselves have mentioned her non-stop for years. And not only as a role model or performance inspiration, but Tinashe's presence in K-pop can be seen in the music and the aesthetics. In the last half of the 2010s, one of the sounds that identified Tinashe musically was her use of Atlanta bass. This undoubtedly led to the trend in K-pop of using those same sounds a couple years later. One of the best examples, and most obvious ones, is the impact Superlove of 2016 had on the industry. Of course, if you have been in K-pop circles after 2018, you know about Daya's Ooh and the bordering plagiaristic interpretation of Tinashe's hit. However, they were not the only ones. If you watched any summer title track back in 2017 to maybe even 2019, you could see the traces of Tinashe in the music and the music videos. Even Supersonic by Fromis9 that was released in 2024, 8 years after Superlove, shows the hold the song still has on K-pop summer releases. Aesthetically, Tinashe has also influenced the K-pop industry. What she was doing in the 2010s was reflected by the last years of the decade, with songs like Dali by Hyorin being one example of how Tinashe's aesthetic and poise could be replicated to some extent by Korean artists. You can also see some of her dancing style and stage presence in female and male idols, their groove, facial expressions, powerful details, etc. Like Kino said, almost every idol of the third and fourth generation of K-pop and their companies were paying attention to what Tinashe was doing. It was easy for K-pop idols to be influenced by her because they saw in black dances, aesthetics, style, and music genres from the US a place to take inspiration from. It makes total sense that Tinashe became a staple figure for them. I think one of the main elements that made Tinashe so popular within K-pop trainees and idols is the fact that she was one of the few Western artists who continued the tradition of dancing and singing on stage. Her choreography was complex and full of details, something that correlated with K-pop and the work idols were doing. Her dancing style was groovy but sexy, and she wasn't, and still isn't, afraid to deliver a difficult performance on stage if it meant offering something new and fresh. Her impact didn't stay only in these two generations of K-pop. What she shifted in K-pop in the 2010s trickled down to the 2020s, to the later half of the fourth generation and even the fifth generation. The stage presence that characterized certain idols who were inspired by Tinashe's own stage presence inspired younger idols too. K-pop now is full of idols who studied Tinashe light. Of course, a lot of these idols took what they admired from Tinashe and adapted it to their own style. But if you were around back then, it was quite obvious how at one point everyone wanted their own style to be as smooth and effortless as Tinashe's. So much that many idols even changed their entire aesthetic to emulate her. Because of how important her figure in K-pop is, we can see her also in how the recent global girl groups were crafted. Partly because of her impact on K-pop, but also because of her impact on the US music industry. Global girl groups from K-pop companies have definitely taken inspiration from Tinashe, whether it was directly or indirectly. I will dive more into that part later, but back when Tinashe was in everyone's mouths, there was no one in the West doing what she was doing. Like I already said, it makes sense that she would be the figure that influenced K-pop like this. She had the music, the dancing, and the black aesthetic. This is also why her impact in the West went unnoticed. She was doing what no one else was doing, and that meant that she could only appeal to a niche. Anyone could argue as much as they want that Tinashe's impact is not that big. That the fact that she has barely charted above 20th place, or could only get a viral song because of a silly white boy dancing, means that she is not as influential to the industry as some of us claim. But the truth is that you just need eyes and ears to realize how big her impact in the music industry all over the world has been. To diminish how much of a blueprint she has been in the industry is to ignore music history, and how Tinashe has kept a lot of practices from black artists alive, as well as ignoring how fresh her music and performances felt when no one else was doing what she was doing. It would be too easy to lie to ourselves and ignore her impact in the music industry, simply because she has been relegated to racist categories created to keep artists as innovative and creative as her humble, when her impact has definitely gone beyond. Tinashe's solo music career started in the early 2010s. Back then, the US had barely any pop stars who danced. The popularity charts were full of both male and female singers who weren't particularly known for giving amazing performances on stage. Dancing was something that was relegated to the black pop star, something they had to do to be acknowledged by the industry, and Tinashe did and went through exactly that. Without even reaching, one of the reasons why Tinashe's impact is always ignored in the West is simply because she is a black woman. Not only in K-pop, but in the US music industry as well, almost everything we are enjoying nowadays can be traced back to Tinashe. The current music industry, with all of its blends of genres, could barely stand without the influence of black artists. That is a fact. And Tinashe has been an artist where influence and inspiration has been extracted from, with barely anyone in the West acknowledging her. The music industry works almost like some sort of domino effect. It only needs a small move to create a wave that moves everything. However, Tinashe has not been exactly a small move in K-pop or in the West. Her entire career has created innumerable waves everywhere. Whether she was doing a mix of R&B and pop, trap and pop, Miami or Atlanta bass, dancing on stage or singing ballads, she was and remains the place to look at when artists all over the world needed inspiration for their next release. She explored and created something for herself that now other music labels are trying to replicate with white pop girls. Tinashe's impact on K-pop is now hitting the West back with the aesthetic and stage presence of groups like Katseye and Girl Set. When she influenced K-pop and when K-pop influenced Western pop back, Tinashe was lost in the middle. But to the trained eye, Tinashe's presence is almost impossible to ignore. She is in the dances, in the hairstyles, in the stage presence. She is still all over everyone's mood boards. Yet, even without K-pop as a middleman, we can trace back her influence directly in modern Western pop stars like Tate McRae, Adéla, and even Addison Rae. Tinashe was recognized as an artist who gave it her all off and on stage, composing and producing, dancing and singing, delivering quality choreography and quality vocals. She did what no one else was doing and turned it into the standard for pop music all over the world. Tinashe crafted the modern pop star who dances, who makes her own music, who immerses in her creativity completely. But like I said, she was following a line of performers and artists that, like her, needed to do it all in order to be acknowledged. I by no means am saying that Tinashe is the origin of everything, that she is the inventor of every music genre or trend that has happened both in K-pop and the US market. But I do mean it when I say that she is a trailblazer of the 2010s. She was doing what no one else was doing, and people definitely noticed. She didn't go unnoticed, and we can see that simply because of how relevant she still is in K-pop, and how the standards that she kept alive for herself are now an industry standard all over the world. Her impact during that decade was so powerful that she has been able to maintain an almost 20-year-long music career. And the thing is that she doesn't really need to say anything more than how easy it is for her. She doesn't need to remind us who is the origin when we all can clearly see who is at the center of every single mood board. It doesn't matter if her efforts have been barely acknowledged by the charts or the sales when her influence is unavoidable. When almost every K-pop and Western act has at least a couple songs that feel taken from the most recent Tinashe release at that moment. I just can't wait to have this conversation again next time Tinashe releases an album, or next time it becomes less and less apparent who truly gave birth to all of these modern pop stars. Anyways, thank you for watching. I encountered Tinashe for the first time when I was a teenager, way before I stumbled upon K-pop. So it really didn't take me that long to connect the dots when I saw how obvious her influence in K-pop was. But now that we are seeing how Western pop developed, it would be disingenuous to only point out how much she has influenced K-pop when truly she has shifted the pop industry worldwide. Again, I am not saying that the artist that I mentioned copied her. There is a big difference between copying, Daya, and taking inspiration, but it is very clear that she is a force that has barely been recognized except to take something from her, to be quote-unquote inspired by her. I am glad to see that she keeps reclaiming her position in the industry as the blueprint. Despite all of the work that she has put on everything, she is still severely underappreciated. Like, some people just got to know her when Nasty went viral on TikTok, when you literally can see her influence in a lot of songs and performers. The way I see it, Tinashe was treated as this niche and mysterious thing happening in the industry, while at the same time being ignored by the big leagues, confining her to labels and boxes just because of her race. And yet, she still became the main inspiration for a lot of producers, singers, choreographers, etc. Her work has transcended genres and countries without even being worldwide recognized. I just hope that it doesn't take too long for Tinashe to receive the love and credit she deserves for shifting music all over the world. That's it for this video. Let me know what's your favorite Tinashe project, because I know that everyone has one. Mine are 333 and maybe BB Angel. Although I think that I like BB Angel a little bit more because it is short yet very striking. Anyways, don't forget to tune in for the next Tinashe album that she announced. See you in the next one.